Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. It is, for me, actually Sunday morning, November the 23rd, 2014. It actually has just slightly past midnight, so I can say that now. Slightly earlier than I was recording last last week, but not as early as I'd like it to be. I actually had a bit of a recording marathon today about some things. So I've actually, I'm a little bit, my voice might be a little bit raw, and I know I'm a little bit more tired than I would normally be at this point. But it's what I wanted to do, and what I did do, was I sat down and I said, okay, I'm going to have some sort of marathon recording session here where I get a lot of recording done of the games, the long form games that I have outstanding. And so I decided to pick the first Templar because I have exhausted all the back footage that I had. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll sit down and do this. I'm probably right at the end. It felt like I was right at the end of the game. You know, probably 2 hours of that, and then I can spend 2 hours maybe on Deus Ex Human Revolution and get some of that done. 4 hours later, I still have not finished the first Templar, and it's actually not, I'm not running into any problems where I'm dying or anything like that. It's literally, there was more to the game than I thought there was. A lot more to the game than I thought there was. So I'm still at the end of the game, it feels like, but it's kind of like the I'm reminded of the third Lord of the Rings movie, the Return of the King, where at the very end it's like, okay, the story's wrapping up, and it's like, no, okay, we still got a few more things to say, and then, all right, the story's wrapping up, and now we still got a few more things to say. It's like half an hour later, you're like, okay, is this movie going to end at some point? I'm like, I kind of get the idea. Everybody's like saying their goodbyes. I get it. All right, we can end it now. And I'm kind of feeling the same way as far as the storyline goes with the first Templar. I enjoy the game. And I don't mind playing I don't mind that the game is still continuing. It's just that it feels like from a story perspective, they're like really stretching it out. Then it's like, okay, now you're going to have just one more area. Oh, wait, we got another area for you to go through. It's like, oh, okay. Okay, I'll do what is necessary, but I mean, I'm looking for the Holy Grail. I know where it's going to be. Can we just like sort of get there? It's like, no. You must spend every last point along the way. You must have a stop and battle hundreds of people. But that's all right. I don't mind it that much. It's just it took me by surprise. I thought, oh, I must be near the end of this, but nope. Nope. It still feels like, from a story perspective, I'm at the very end, but I have no idea. There might be 3 more levels. Anywho, so that's I ended up recording that all day. I wanted other things that I wanted to record, but I just said, hey, you know what? At least I can get a good backlog of that going. And being as though this week is Thanksgiving week here in the States, we'll be able to have I'll have a shortened week at the grind, and then be able to have additional days there where I can sit down and do some recordings, because I have some holiday time there. So that'll be cool. That'll be awesome. I'll be able to get even more stuff from the back catalog done. I would like to get ahead of the game as far as Deus Ex Human Revolution goes. That would be rather awesome. But I don't try to force it either. At the same time, as I mentioned in my update video, I am trying to record footage from other games, other indie games, and sort of compile them together into like a little snippet, a little format, where I can just kind of talk about what's the current state of their development and what they look like, and you can kind of see what's going on and what I think about them, so on and so forth. And then not just games that are in development. It might be games that are completed as well. It's just things that I wanted an area where I could put things that I probably won't actually record series on, or I will record series on, but they're not at a state where I can record it on, that kind of thing. So yeah, I still have to do that. My goal here this weekend, which I think I've thoroughly accomplished, hopefully, was to get enough recording in the backlog, so that this week, at nighttime, I can record some of these other things, these other pieces of footage. So that'll be good. That being said, I know that I end up spending most of Monday and some of Tuesday usually on LCM stuff, but I might that might be more of I might try to get that done, Monday or something. It's probably going to be a shorter episode than what I normally do, just because I want to spend more time on other things as well. So it kind of I got, after I got done my recording session, I actually found that I have the Steam overlay turned off in game, because I don't like having those pop-ups sort of come up while you're looking at things. Like, I still see achievements and stuff, but I don't like it, when you're in a full screen game, to have all these pop-ups of, oh, this person's doing this or that person's doing that. And unfortunately, it means that when somebody tries to contact me over the Steam chat window, I don't see that until I've actually quit the game. So unfortunately, it looked like Tinny was trying to get a hold of me to see if we wanted to go do something on LCM, and I ended up accidentally blowing him off because I didn't know, I didn't see it come up until well after when it did. So that's unfortunate, because it is hard to find times when other people are on LCM right now, doing things. So oh well. Oh well. I am being the bad multiplayer. The bad multiplayer that I am. But yeah, still got some stuff to do over there as well. Working on Ender Farms and all these other things. Just taking my time. Also, still in the background there, I am still working on the finale of Captive Minecraft 2. The thing that's taking me a long time here is I have all the resources to fight the Wither boss. I don't have enough ores collected for the beacon. In order to get the beacon achievement, you need a full-size beacon, which is 164 gold and or iron blocks. And I'm mining out the place, but it's it's slim pickings as far as that goes. I'm not even. I think I have about 30 or 40 as far as that is concerned, and so I'm quite a long way from being able to sit down and actually get another one of those episodes out. I might end up recording just the Wither boss fight, but I have a feeling that that's not going to be a very long episode. So that's why I'm trying to get the beacon together, because I'd like to be able to have just one big blowout finale. So we'll see. Maybe I can figure something out. Maybe there's a cache of gold and iron around that I can mine out easily. We'll see. But anyway, that's where that stands. And the First Templar is going to. There's still lots of episodes of that that I have recorded, and I just have to edit them, and they'll be ready to go. So I think pretty sure with the 3 hours I did, I had about 4 episodes there. With some significant progress, so that is a good thing. 4 episodes of around 35 minutes or so. It really depends on where I decide to cut. I try to cut like around the 30-minute mark or so, but I end up trying to, since I don't know what's coming up next in the game, I don't know where is a good spot to stop. So I don't know if I'm trying to predict where good spots are, and then I sometimes have it go for a little bit longer because I figure there might be a cutscene coming up or something like that. So that's why sort of waver back and forth with those episodes and their length, and that includes the Deus Ex Human Revolution, right? Because I don't know what's coming up in there either. So I end up with episodes like the last one I just put out, which is like 50 minutes long, because I figured there was an easy task that I could get done. I still want to accomplish things, and I don't want to just release a 20-minute video that doesn't actually accomplish anything, if I can help it. But you know, philosophy of YouTube right there. But anywho, speaking of lots of recording and stuff, I have lots of. I actually stopped myself early here as far as getting more information, more news articles, news items to talk about here. Mostly because there was still a whole lot of sources I had to go through, and it's getting pretty darn late. So hopefully I have enough, and I usually do. Hopefully I have enough news articles here to carry us through the hour that I normally record. So we'll start off with, I'll just give a recap on the Humble Jumbo Bundle 3. The Humble Bundle team announced additional games that are a part of it. So I've already talked about the other ones in the last episode and the last episode anyway. The ones that were already in it. They've added to it Half Minute Hero, Super Mega Neo Climax Ultimate Boy. And that is all the title. The whole thing is the title of the game, which is pretty funny. It's a nice tongue-in-cheek game where it's basically, actually it's a sequel. Is it a sequel? I think it's a sequel to Half Minute Hero. You have 30 seconds. It's mini games, right? You have a bunch of mini games that it presents you with, and you have 30 seconds to complete them. Same thing with this. It's a lot of humor around RPGs and other things. It's pretty funny to look at. In addition to that, the original Grid game is on there, so you get both Grid 2 and Grid, which is rather cool. I don't know if I will play the Grid games. I've seen some footage of Grid, of the games being played. And I don't know if it's something that I would be interested in. I'm not sure if it's arcadey enough. I guess that's the real feather in my cap there, right? Is like, I'm not sure if they're arcadey enough or if they're more simmy, because I know the YouTubers I watched that tend to be more into the simmy stuff somewhat liked Grid, but they somewhat didn't. So I don't know if it's because they didn't have enough options to control, or if it's just that it was too arcadey. I don't know. So I'm on the fence about that. I don't know if I'll play those or not. If I do, they'll probably be off camera. I might not record them because I have enough right now as far as racing games go and racing games that are coming up that I want to record, that those will probably be on the back burner, if anything. In addition to that, they also added Kickbeat Steam Edition. This indie game is it's a rhythm brawler game. So it's very much you're in an arena and there's music playing, and you tap the buttons to the music, and try to fight all these enemies that are waves of enemies that are coming at you. It looks pretty cool. I not really the type of guy that's into the rhythm type games, because I have no rhythm. I have no rhythm. I have no soul. It's just not my kind of game. But it's there if you wanna take a look at it. The Humble Jumbo Bundle, I think, has only got 2 days left. So if you want to jump in there, now's the time. Also, I have as part of it, I have 3 gift codes of Insurgency, which I will probably just dump the link out there on the Twitterverse and let everybody just hit it and see whoever gets in there first gets it. The 3 people that get in there first will get it. So I might end up just doing that. And what else? Okay, so that pretty much covers the Humble Jumbo Bundle 3. So, get on over there, take a look at it, see if it's something you like. I've bought into it because there were a couple games on there that I really wanted. So that's a thing. Let's see what else we have here. We got some news, some updates. Halo Master Chief Collection. There was a patch finally on the 20th, I believe. I have not actually installed it yet, so I don't know if it. I can't confirm, but according to VG247, the patch came down on the 20th for the matchmaking bugs, along with a bunch of other things. I'll link you to the article that actually has some bullet points of several of the things that they fixed, several little bit of bugs around there. So that's cool. And then, let's see what else we got here. Also, World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, the one game that I am amongst the few that have never played and have no desire to play. World of Warcraft has been struggling the last couple of, I guess about the last year maybe, losing lots of subscribers. It's just, I don't know all the reasons for it. I hear things about the freaking Panda expansion, whatever it was, Mist of Pandaria, wasn't as good as people wanted, so on and so forth. It might be just a lot of, it's long in the tooth, I guess. World of Warcraft is one of those things that really, I find it humorous, when you listen to people who talk about, who have been on, who were, World of Warcraft players and either stopped or otherwise not doing it as much as they used to. They always talk about like it was like they are recovering alcoholics. It's pretty funny. It strikes me as one of those things like, it's like, yeah, man, like I used to raid like every weekend, and it was, I can't go back to that. That life is over. I can't do it anymore. It's like, those drugs, man, can't do them. Just can't handle them anymore. My liver can't handle it. Yeah, it's pretty funny to hear that to me, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it sounds like everybody, most people enjoyed their stay. It's just like, every time people talk about it, they're like, yeah, I can't go back to it. They're almost shaking, vibrating in place when they talk about it. I find it rather humorous. That being said, I mean, I've never played the game. It was one of those games that never actually appealed to me. I'll be honest, the entire Warcraft genre, even the Warcraft games and whatnot, that universe has never really been something that's interesting to me, which is weird to say because I'm into RPGs and all that stuff, and I'm into the world building stuff. It's just the story just was never something that actually gripped me. I guess I look at like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. I'm like, I can't really tell a whole lot of difference between that and Dungeons and Dragons, other than Dungeons and Dragons tends to have better stories. Again, this is just a person who's never played any of the games saying that. I just never. There might be some really cool I imagine that there is some really good storylines in there and a lot of good lore. It's just I've never had that desire to actually go dig into it. I don't know why. It's a weird one. I've dug into many a game. I've just never thought, hey, you know what? I want to get in on World of Warcraft. Never thought of it. That said, they had dropped down to about 7 million subscribers after a peak. The peak subscriber count was in 2010 with 12 million subscribers they had hit, which was their highest peak. And I believe 2010 was when they released the expansion, the Mists of Pandaria expansion, if I'm not mistaken. Or actually, no, maybe it was before that, wasn't it? Because I don't think that expansion's been out that long. It's only, yeah, Yeah, it must have been some other reason. I my knowledge as far as Warcraft goes is very, very light. I only know a few things here and there, just little nuggets of information that I've gleaned from from the recoverers. uh, but that said, World of Warcraft is celebrating its 10-year anniversary soonish. I don't know if I assume it's this month because they're doing all kinds of special stuff. Or I assume it's December because they're doing all kinds of special stuff in December. But I don't know the exact date. I couldn't glean that information fast enough before I started recording. But they're celebrating their 10-year anniversary, and they've just had an expansion pack come out this week called Warlords of Draenor, and it was very well received from what I can tell from long-term subscribers. In fact, it looks to me like from the article, the VG247 article that I'll link you to, it appears that their sub count has reached 10 million again. It was down to about, from what I understand, down to about 7 million. And right after this expansion was released, it jumped back up to 10. Now, there could be some reason. There could be the fact that a free 1 month pass, I believe, was given out to previously subscribed players. So some of that might be that, and it's sort of the nugget to get you in to play the expansion. But also, I'm hearing that there's a lot of good things about the expansion. Like, a lot of people are very pleased with it. From what I've read, I can't comment on it myself because I still have no desire to actually pay a subscription fee to go on and do that stuff. But from what I understand, from what I've read, it seems like it's been, the reviewers have been reviewing it quite well. So that's cool. I'll link you to the article. You can take a look at it. It's, I say good for Blizzard. They found a way to, I think, bring people back. From what I understand, as far as the expansion goes, it reintroduces a lot of the old story, I suppose, where it allows you to, where you're back to fighting orcs and fighting the Iron Horde, whatever that is. I only know it from myth and legend as far as what that is, and that it's probably orcs. But yeah, I applaud them. I applaud everybody for that. Hopefully that is the good thing, and it is as good an expansion as the reviewers have been saying it is. I put this on here to talk about and sort of celebrate World of Warcraft, WoW's anniversary, and to be honest, I have no real input. I have nothing really to add to it other than congrats. But I guess whatever. It's there. It's news. It's interesting. It interested me. Backpedal. Hurry. Oh crap. Speaking of celebrating things, some more information came out about Telltale's Game of Thrones game that they're developing that will be released soon. The first episode of will be released soonish. There was a trailer released. I got to watch that a little bit. You can go over to their official site and find that. I'm not going to link to it because it was quite buried where I found it. But yeah, it's the trailer seemed interesting. I like it. It gives you sort of the background of what the story is going to be like as far as the house that you'll be following and sort of the intrigue and mystery that you're going to be dealing with. And just a little nugget of information. And then also, I believe Polygon has a series of what they're calling leaked images from the game. Although it's still highly unconfirmed. It's, very unconfirmed sources of them, although they look like they would be legitimate. Of how the main characters and whatnot have been painted. It sounds like Telltale is going for less of a cell shaded look like they had for, say, The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, and they're going for more of a painting, or as they call it, painterly look and feel to it, where it sort of looks like you're walking through an oil painting of some sort. And I think, there's been some criticisms in the comment sections about how it looks, and it doesn't look that good and all this stuff. I'm like, I think it looks actually rather good. I think it looks rather decent. To be perfectly honest, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the cel shaded stuff. I've watched videos of and watched YouTubers play both The Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead, and I honestly did not watch for the visuals. I was watching more for listening more to the story as it unfolded, because honestly, the visuals in those games, to me, the cel shading in those games really, I'm sure it fit the comic book style, which is what they were going for. Excuse me. I'm sure it fit the comic book style, but it's not really an aesthetic that I like too much. I say that, and I really mean, I like it done when it's done well and a little bit more subtly, I guess, is the way that I appreciate the cel shading. I think if it's a little bit more subtle, it works better. In those games, it's felt like it was a little bit too. It felt like it was constantly in your face. Like, hey, look at these thick lines here. But that's coming from a guy who has not an artistic bone in his body. So take that with a heavy dose of salt, because that's just that was just my personal opinion on it. So yeah, I'll leave you a link to the Polygon article with the images in it, so you can judge for yourself if the imagery is what you expect it to be for this. I think the other thing too is that they're basing the images on the HBO series, so they're actually basing them on the characters in the series, and I guess maybe that also probably is leaving a bad taste in some of the people's mouths who are fans more of the book than of the series. But whatever. To each their own, I say to that. What else we got here? So I left on a dangling nugget last episode where I said I was going to talk a little bit about embargoes, because they came up in the news, namely around Assassin's Creed Unity. There was an embargo in place, a review embargo in place that lasted 12 hours after the official release of Assassin's Creed Unity, which came under lots of fire because the game was a buggy mess, quite frankly, from what most people have said. Although I put a large asterisk next to that because everyone's mileage may vary as far as that's concerned. 1,000 people does not make a large test base. And I don't know, and who the hell knows exactly how many people were having problems with it, but it seemed like it was universally that there was enough of an issue that Ubisoft started to scramble to get some bug fixes out there. So at least there's that. But it did bring up the whole idea of the embargo and whether or not it was a strategic embargo where reviewers were not allowed to warn potential customers ahead of time before it went on release, or when it went on release, that there was still a lot of mess in the works there. And Ubisoft came out and said, no. Listen, we did that because we wanted people to be able to play the multiplayer, so we wanted it to be in as many hands as possible, so that reviewers could play the multiplayer and truly review the product. And there is some merit to that, where you really do need a large population of people so that you can have a good review of the multiplayer. And I can see where the embargoes come from. The embargoes really spawned from the fact that review sites and review magazines back in the day, it's all about the scoop, right? It's all about getting that nugget of information, that nugget of news, that first review, getting the first eyeballs out there. If you're the first one to publish the review, then you're going to get the most eyeballs until everyone else catches up with you. That's generally how media works in general. And from that spawned the idea of the embargo, from what I understand. And again, I'm not speaking from any kind of position of knowledge here. I'm just speaking from what I understand, from my understanding of this. And my understanding could be completely wrong, and I could be completely talking out of my ass. But this is my understanding of it. My understanding of it is it spawned from the fact that games were getting reviewed before, were sort of, there was a fear that games would get reviewed in an unfinished state, or in a state where there was not a sufficient, for a multiplayer game, for instance, a sufficient population on a server to get the full experience. And the AAAs really, 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 really want the reviewers to get the full experience of the game, so that they can, see sort of the end game content and see the multiplayer content and see, do a full-fledged review on all the different aspects, and have that opportunity to do that. So, the embargo on its, in its initial form is not actually a bad thing. What I think, though, I think in the times that we're in now, the embargoes probably aren't necessary, honestly, anymore. And here's why I say this. I say this because we see indie games constantly out there. Constant coverage nowadays for indie games. All the major, internet websites and even some of the major magazines are covering indie games. In fact, there's some sites that are completely devoted to them. And indie devs generally don't deal with embargoes, from what I understand. I mean, generally speaking, they seem to be like, you know what? You want to review our code? Review it in whatever state you get it in. Here's all the caveats about what we're at, and here's the state we're in, and knock yourself out. And review sites, for the most part, have been very self-policing when it comes to that. They've been very fair, I think, when it comes to it. They very upfront and say, like, look, hey, this is early access, or hey, this is the very early build that we played, and here's some very early footage, or even there's even policies, on several sites that say, hey, when a AAA game or an indie game is released, and it's a multiplayer game, they'll take their time and make sure they actually review the multiplayer, or they'll review the multiplayer separately from the main game, so that they have a fair assessment of it. A lot of review sites are self-policing the fact that, when a game is released, they might not have a review ready to go. They might wait until they've had enough time to play it before they to play enough of it that they can actually do a review that's fair of the game. And so I feel like, and I feel like because of that resurgence of indie development and all the news around indie development and all that, I guess, disclosure in there about like, hey, this is still early footage. Hey, this is that. The fact that, Kickstarter there's been a lot of Kickstarter public failures of Kickstarters to actually materialize, and public failures of early access games to materialize what was promised or what was thought to be promised. And I think because of that current climate, because of all that, the person who is reading these sites is probably a little bit more informed than they would have been back in the day as to what exactly they're looking at. Back in the day, it could have been easy for someone to sort of slide one out there that was not really a very good game, and still get a lot of reviews that were relatively positive on it. Whereas nowadays, it's like, review sites are actually pretty brutally honest about what they've reviewed and what they haven't reviewed, for the most part. And I'm not gonna get into too many of those topics, but for the most part, with games, they've been pretty consistent, I would say. There's also a lot of backlash against the scoring systems, and I'm seeing a lot of sites starting to reevaluate whether or not they even want to put scores on their sites anymore. Of course, in so doing, they sort of break Metacritic at the time, but Metacritic is still a very popular site, so it's half dozen of one and 12 dozen of another, I guess, as far as that is concerned. But I do see a couple sites that are like, you know what, we're not going to do numerical scores anymore. We're just going to tell you what we got, what we've seen, and what we played. And I think that also is probably a lot to do with the indie games and the various qualities of indie games that you have out there, and Greenlight and various other places, Kickstarters and all that stuff. I have a feeling that was sort of the thing that pushed a lot of these publications to really be transparent about what they're doing, as far as what they're reviewing, I should say. And of course, we've had other things going on that I'm not going to get into, but I feel like given the current climate, embargoes probably aren't really that necessary anymore for AAA games. I feel like AAA games could probably just release their stuff as is and let the sites themselves sort of police themselves about it, because they seem to be doing a better job of policing themselves than the whole embargo stuff would suggest, I guess. But those are again my completely uninformed opinions about that. Whether or not I'm even on base is another thing. What it has spawned, though, what the Assassin's Creed Unity thing has spawned is Kotaku, I believe it's the managing editor, editor-in-chief, maybe, I don't know, of Kotaku, Stephen Totillo. I don't know what actual title he has. It's some bigwig title. It came out in the wake of the Assassin's Creed Unity thing and said, like, look, we're not gonna cover any games with an embargo, with an embargo that is greater than the release date of the title. So I think there's a shift going on there, and from what I understand, there's not a whole lot of the whole embargo thing. When the embargo thing happens, it's mostly for release day. It's very rare to have games that say, you can't do any reviews of this hours or days after it's released. It's usually right up to the hour or the minute it's released, and then from there it's free reign, free game. So it's good to see that there's that sort of backlash, I guess, going on, because or backpedaling or backtracking or whatever you want to call it, to try to sort of right the ship a little bit as far as that is concerned. I think those are positive changes. I think there's very little value, I think, to an embargo that it extends beyond the moment of release of these games. And honestly, given what I was arguing a little bit earlier, the idea of an embargo might not even be necessary anymore, given the climate that we're in now, where people are contributing to early access games and contributing to Kickstarters, and they're getting the full information up front from a lot of these developers. So maybe the AAAs won't change overnight, but maybe the whole thing might have them change slightly. Maybe they'll start to change the course of the ship, if you will. Okay, so that was sort of all I could really formulate and say about the embargo thing that I hesitate to say it, embargo gate that happened. Oh God, I can just see the downvotes coming in right now after saying that. Let's move on to other information here. Now, I have been searching high and low for a game that is very similar to Crimson Skies. I have actually been looking for Crimson Skies, which is a fighter pilot game. You were Nathan somebody. I was going to say Nathan Drake, but that's not the right guy. Nathan somebody was your main character. And you were like this swashbuckling, kind of guy, and you were this fighter pilot, and it was an alternate history where the United States was broken up into several territories, and we still had dirigibles and blimps and everything else just flying around the skies, and you were sort of mercenary for hire kind of deal, soldier of fortune, I guess, kind of, although not really a soldier. And it was quite fun. It was a lot of fun. It was an aerial dogfighting game with all sort of elements to it. And I couldn't find it anywhere. It does not seem to be available on PC anywhere anymore. It seems to have just died off at some point. There was a version of it for the Xbox 360, I believe, which I don't think you can buy anymore. I still have it, I believe. I still have it on my 360, I think. Because I'm pretty sure I've played it before, and I know that I played a demo of it on the PC, but I never actually bought the full game, and now I can't find it anywhere anywhere on the internet to play it. So I've been looking around for alternatives, and apparently there were two that I've looked at. One is kind of iffy right now. The other one I haven't. The other one I just purchased. It's early access, and I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but it looks like it would be kind of cool. So I'll start out with the sort of iffy one that I've played, which is called, where's that? I just lost it on my list here. It is called, where did I put it? I put it somewhere on here. Sky Battles, that's what it's called. And it was, I'll link you to the Rock Paper Shotgun article. They kind of compared it both to Crimson Skies and to Shadow of the Colossus, because you're technically fighting these huge monster mechanized things. But I'll be honest with you, I went and I purchased it. It's only on mobile devices right now, from what I understand, although I believe that they intend to be on the PC at some point. But I bought it on my, well, actually I got the free version. I should say I got the free version on my Android tablet, and because I wanted to just try it out and see if it's actually what they're saying it is. And yikes, yikes! It's the controls were quite bad, at least on my tablet. They were quite bad. Now, there's two different control schemes. There's the using the accelerometer and in your the tilt sensor, I should say, tilt sensor in your phone or your device. And then there's on-screen controls. Now, I don't really want to do the tilt sensor stuff. That to me is a little bit too much work, and it's kind of wonky the way that it doesn't quite work the way you want it to work. So I was trying the on-screen controls, and yeah, they were equally as bad. So it's very, very, very difficult in its current state to even control. It's also very annoying. The free version that I have has whenever you die, which you die quite often, it has a in-game ad that pops up whenever you die, and it's just a pain in the neck. It just spams you with ads as you're playing, and it's just I couldn't deal with it. I tried for a little while. I tried to play for about 20-25 minutes, and I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't do anything. I just kept crashing. I couldn't control the fighter quite right. The shooting mechanics weren't working for me. I was having all kinds of problems. I was having old man problems at that point. I couldn't control it. I was just all over the place. So yeah, I'll link it to the article. You can take a look at it. I'm hoping that it's just so early on that's really the reason for it being sort of wonky. The graphics are not much to write home about, but I'm not really interested in the graphics so much as long as there's good gameplay there, and I couldn't tell you if there was good gameplay there because I got frustrated and gave up. But I'll give you a link to that. You can take a look at it, look at the videos. I think there's a free version of it out on. I'm pretty sure there's a free version of it out on Android, if I'm not mistaken. So if you really want to take a look at it and see what happens, I believe there's an iOS version as too. And so that was that one. I'll leave you a link to that. Actually, I think it was Indie Game. It was not Rock Paper Shotgun. It was something else. Whatever. One of those sites I will leave a link to that actually has that on it. But the other one that I just saw on Rock Paper Shotgun today is called Bomb, and it looks quite a lot like Crimson Skies from the videos. Probably even more so than Sky Battles was. And it's on Steam. It's in early access. So I purchased it. It's about $12 right now. I purchased it, and I'm going to take a look at it and see what it's like. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's very hit or miss, the genre, right? Crimson Skies got it really well, although there was a lot of things about Crimson Skies that I wished were better. But it was good. And this one, from what I've seen, there's been a lot of reviews on this site so far, early access reviews to it. Everyone's been saying, if you're a fan of Crimson Skies, you'll be a fan of this. So I'm gonna take a look at it and see what it's like. Hopefully it's not bad, because I really want one of these things. I really want it's got the fighter pilots in it, the fighter planes in it. I think it only has 2 controllable planes though, which is fine by me. And it's got the blimps you can dock with and all kinds of things. So hopefully it does what I'm hoping it does. So I might take a look at that and see what comes out of it. But I'll leave you a link to go take a look at it yourself. Look at the videos on it. I believe there's a developer diary too. If you go over on their website. Or not a developer diary, a developer video behind the scenes kind of thing they have on there too. So that's a thing. That's a thing. I kind of like what I saw there. So hopefully that is what I'm hoping for, because I really there's 2 things that I've been really kind of aching for, I guess you can say. One is something like Crimson Skies with a fighter pilot game, allows you to go around and do that kind of thing. Fighter pilot sort of adventure action game. and also spy games. A very, very good spy game, and I've been getting a lot of. There's been a lot of good spy games coming out or in development right now, so that I'm kind of very happy about that. Now I need the Crimson Skies like thing now. Man. Okay. Gotta gather your strength, memory. Gather it. It's getting late. Your voice is weird now. You must persevere. I do this because I love it. I really do like this weekly roundup that I do here, where I get to just sit here and play some Cube World and just sit here with the mic and just chat about games. Oh, I love it. I love it to death. I just if this was the only thing I could do during the week, this would be the only thing I would do. I should say, if this was the only thing I had time to do, then I would prioritize this first. Anywho, back to the grind here. What else do we have on here? We've got, so I took care of those two things. Also, Just Cause 3 was announced. I've played Just Cause 2. It's how could I best describe it? It's kind of like a Far Cry game, except it's third person. And there's lots of parachutes and hooks, hook lines and parachutes and various things of that nature. Just Cause 2 was basically you went onto an island. There was a dictator on the island, and you basically had to go around and capture or destroy a bunch of cities and recapture a bunch of cities and recapture a bunch of cities and then destroy a lot of factories around the place. Not factories, but fortresses. I'm calling them fortresses, but I'm sure they were basically called something else. And the idea was, along the way, you would have story missions that would then further the story along. And it was very decent. It was, I guess it's GTA crossed with, GTA 4 and 5 crossed with a Far Cry-esque thing. It got very repetitive, Just Cause 2, after a while, because it also has sort of that Saints Row-ish thing to it, where it's like, hey, you go around and unlock parts of the map, change the color of parts of the map by destroying all these groups of enemies around here. But that said, it was still a lot of fun. I think the most fun of that was the mechanics, right? It's like, hey, you can skydive out of a plane and then use your hook to hook yourself onto another jet flying by, and then transfer from that to another ship or another plane, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and apparently they're going to do a Just Cause 3, and it's going to involve wingsuits as well. It's going to add wingsuits to the game, which is really, really cool. I mean, the basic transportation for Just Cause 2 was your parachute, where you just jump off a cliff, parachute around, use your hook to guide you around to different various things, and jump onto buildings and all that stuff. It was cool. And then now there's adding the wingsuit to it, so now you can fly around like a damn squirrel, like a flying squirrel, and get over to all these different areas and places. There hasn't been, as far as I know, much released as far as what the storyline's going to be. But I'm just happy to see that there's another Just Cause coming down. They said that it's going to be, from what I understand, they said it's going to be focused mostly on the single player experience. There is a multiplayer experience, I believe they said, but it's not scheduled for any kind of launch. They're probably not going to have multiplayer at launch. which Just Cause 2 didn't either. I think they patched it on later, multiplayer stuff, and it was, from what I understand, it was quite hilarious and wacky when you were on the multiplayer of Just Cause 2. So what else we got here? I got a lot of old information here, so I gotta really clean out this spreadsheet at some point, because I don't think anybody really cares about some of the older stuff like Archage and whatnot coming out. Also, the Mech Warrior devs were coming up with something else. Piranha Games was coming up with something else that a lot of people are up in arms about because MechWarrior Online was not really something that was delivered quite well. But I'm not going to get into any of that. That news is so old now. It's probably not even accurate anymore. What I will get into though is there is a rumor. There's a rumor on VG247. I'll leave a link to you. That the Steam fall sale will probably be starting the 26th of the month and going till the 1st of December. They have this information via PayPal. PayPal apparently sent out emails to the effect of, hey, buy some Steam gift cards now because the Steam fall sale will be coming up. So Half-Life 3 confirmed? No. No, I think we'll have to keep our eyes open and see if that's actually accurate or not. I imagine if it came from PayPal, it's probably relatively accurate, but who knows at this point. So possibly this week, just in time for Black Friday, we might have a Steam fall sale starting up. I believe the GOG fall sale is still in full swing. I haven't checked on it recently, which reminds me that I probably am not getting. I don't have all the stamps that I need for that free Witcher game, so that's gonna be. I think I might have just missed out on that. Possibilities arise that Valve will be following up with a fall sale very shortly, just in time for the old Christmas. Let's see what else. Oh, so Valve made a bunch of updates to their early access guidelines for developers. And I have, how much time do I have? I have some time to go over this. So I've linked, I'll link you to an article that talks about it in better detail, but I've gone to the paste bin, and I have sort of the raw text that was posted for it, and I sort of want to read this off because I think it's far better than anything that I could try to explain. But these are basically an email or some kind of communication that went out to developers who have Steam early access games, trying to sort of course correct them a little bit and let them know that what early access is supposed to be versus what it's actually being used for right now. And it's new rules, as well as a bunch of guidelines that they're asking the developers to follow. And I'm going to read the rules section first here, because I think this will probably sink in a lot better if I just read their actual text. So here goes. The rules. These are the rules that you need to follow for your title in Steam Early Access. You must include Steam Early Access branding and information about the current state of your game on any third-party sites where you are distributing Steam keys for your Early Access game. We work really hard to make sure that customers understand what they are buying when they get Early Access title on Steam. But we've seen that many of these titles are sold as keys on other websites where there is no explanation of what Early Access is or what the current state of your product is now versus what you hope to achieve. As a result, we are now requiring a developer to include the Steam Early Access branding for your Early Access title. You should also include the Early Access questions that you answered when setting up your Steam page. You can read more in the Steam branding guidelines. Do not make specific promises about future events. For example, there is no way you can know exactly when the game will be finished, that the game will be finished, or that planned future editions will definitely happen. Do not ask your customers to bet on the future of your game. Customers should be buying your game based on its current state, not on promises of a future that may or may not be realized. Steam Early Access titles need to be available to customers through Steam. If Valve is enabling your Early Access game, we expect you to have the Early Access game available for sale on the Steam Store. There we go. Do not offer it for sale on Steam any later than you offer it anywhere else. Don't overcharge your Steam customers. And we expect Steam customers to get a price for the Early Access game no higher than they are offered on any other service or website. Please make sure that that's the case. Several rules there that they've introduced make perfect sense to me, and kind of obvious things, but it does seem like they're trying to basically tell developers, like, look, this is Steam, this is not Kickstarter. You're not trying to get crowdfunding here. This is more of a show off what you've got and have an actual prototype ready to go, or have an actual game that's ready to go. This is funding. This is early, sort of, I guess, pre-ordering almost for indies, but also aiding them in their development process. Not a Kickstarter-like thing where it's pie in the sky, let's see what we can throw at the wall and see what people will pay for. And then they have a set of guidelines here, and I'll read these off. These are suggestions for ensuring a better experience for customers. Don't launch in early access if you can't afford to develop with very few or no sales. There is no guarantee that your game will sell as many units as you anticipate. If you are counting on selling a specific number of units to survive and complete your game, then you need to think carefully about what it would mean for you or your team if you don't sell that many units. Are you willing to continue developing the game without any sales? Are you willing to seek other forms of investment? Make sure you set expectations properly everywhere you talk about your game. For example, if you know your updates during early access will break save files or make the customer start over with building something, make sure you say that up front, and say this everywhere you sell your Steam keys. Don't launch in early access without a playable game. If you have a tech demo but not much gameplay yet, then it's probably too early to launch in early access. If you're trying to test out a concept and haven't yet figured out what players are going to do in your game that makes it fun, then it's probably too early. You might want to start by giving out keys to select fans and getting input from a smaller and focused group of users before you post your title to early access. At a bare minimum, you will need a video that shows in-game gameplay of what it looks like to play the game. Even if you are asking customers for feedback on changing the gameplay, customers need something to start with in order to give informed feedback and suggestions. Don't launch in early access if you're done with development. If you have all your gameplay defined already and are just looking for final bug testing, then early access isn't the right place for that. You'll probably just want to send out some keys for fans or to do more internal playtesting. Early access is intended as a place where customers can have impact on the game. So there you go. That is the text that was posted to various websites that apparently was leaked from communication from Valve to early access developers on their service. And it sort of speaks volumes, which is why I wanted to take the time to actually read that whole thing out. Because really, it does speak to a lot of the problems that we're seeing. There was a study made, and I forget who did it. I'm sure you can go look for it. That said something like 25% of all titles that are in early access on Steam right now actually get out of early access, actually release a final product. That's a really, really low number, very, very low number. And a lot of the things you see on Greenlight, I routinely try to go through Greenlight to try to find new and interesting concepts in there, and a lot of the stuff on there is absolute crap. Absolute crap. It's like sometimes you wonder what people are actually trying to go for, right? That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. Is like there's a lot of alpha games out there. There's a lot of tech demos out there where you have no idea what the developer is trying to actually do, what their game is trying to actually be. They're not very fleshed out. They're not very well thought out. And that's fine and dandy. It's okay for games to be in that state. Every game is in that state at some point in time, and it's okay to be open and honest about that. It's kind of shady when you start to go like, well, okay, so now pay some money for it, put some money up for this. Unless, of course, you're on Kickstarter, in which case that comes with a different sort of set of ideas. Kickstarter was meant to be sort of an idea place where, like, here's a bunch of ideas that we want to do, and here's what we're thinking, and here's what we want to try to deliver. And I think the weakness of Kickstarter is that games really can't fall into that category too much. I mean, every game starts with some idea, and you have to flesh that idea out. But I think games as a whole, you also expect that at the end of that investment, you're going to get something out of it. Now, when I invest in stuff on Kickstarter, I expect that I'm probably not... those things may never reach the light of day, right? And I think that's the intended purpose of Kickstarter, kind of, although they've tried in recent years to fix that, to make it where something is actually delivered at the end of all that. And it's less investment, more, early access, I guess. But at the same time, on Steam Early Access, you're kind of expecting, because it's a Steam store, that you're going to get something that's going to be delivered and it's going to meet the expectations that have been set forth. And there have been a lot of early access titles that basically are promising the moon, much like things on Kickstarter do, and not delivering on those promises. And there's been a lot of consternation around that, and rightfully so, where it's like, hey, people often point out, Space-Based DF9 as one of those things where, all these promises were made and then they just released whatever they had and that was it. And they couldn't make any more money off of it. And other things of that nature. Early access, Kickstarter game, Steam games that were completely canceled from early access. They just stopped development altogether. Things that were just released in whatever form they were released in. Lots of examples out there of those things. Lots of examples of things that are, just chugging along, ready to, may get released at some point in the future, which is kind of what early access was about, right? As they've said here in the text, is like, early access is about, hey, you've got a concept, you've got some gameplay here, you've got a well-defined document. You're doing this more to get feedback from the fans, get early feedback, and also get a little bit of money to help with the development. And also that money helps with getting the feedback too, right? It's like you're not just giving something out for free. It's there's a gatekeeper there, but a lot of that is not materializing. There's quite a bit. There's quite a few out there where it's like, okay, here's some feedback, and that feedback either never materializes in the game, or it's simply the game itself just kind of languishes. It's sort of there as more of a let's see how much money we can get out of people, and then we'll just give them whatever we've got at the end of the day. We don't really have the wherewithal to follow it through to completion, and we're going to promise everything we can to try to get that. And that's unfortunate, because there's a lot of games out there that aren't like that. There's a lot of games that are very respectable and really do have an idea of what they want to be, and are doing early access as it was intended to be used. And so it's good to see that Valve is revisiting it and clarifying that for developers, and hopefully that also means that maybe they'll clear out some of the old cruft out there that probably shouldn't be for sale on Steam right now, or in early access right now. But I think that will just about do it for this episode of Cube Ramblings. This is episode 70 of Cube World, me playing Cube World, and it'll be episode 39 of Cube Ramblings. So we've been going on for quite some time here. and I'm still enjoying how this is going to keep it on. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I will see you next Sunday.